Well, welcome back to Part B of our educational series, and this appendix I have put together, which hopefully will describe some of the research that's going on in these non-psychoactive cannabinoids that really is a tremendous phenomenon through the research community, and this is happening on a worldwide basis. So the first thing I'd like to point out is the increase in the occurrence of neurological diseases. And we have seen a recent news release this summer from the Mayo Clinic researchers who've been studying neurological trends over the past 30 years and reported their findings in the JAMA Neurology back in June of 2016. The report cited a significant increase in Parkinson's disease and Parkinsonism, particularly in men over the age of 70 years old. But nonetheless, this study is the first to suggest that this trend is happening. And just to outline some of the numbers, for every 10 years of calendar life, men of all ages have a 17% higher risk of developing Parkinsonism, and men of all ages have a 24% higher risk of developing Parkinson's disease. Dr. Savica, the study lead author, mentions that we have evidence to suggest there has been a genuine increase in the risk of Parkinson's disease. And looking at Huntington's disease and other neurological disorders, these are on the rise as well. So the prevalence of Huntington's disease, another neurological disorder, may need to be revised upward as genetic markers are pointing to a statistically significant increase among the general population. Although there are numerous stories of sick people and health-challenged children receiving assistance from CBD, we truly feel that healthy people can take a daily maintenance regimen and then potentially avoid some of these potentially neurodegenerative risks that are mentioned in the Mayo Clinic's Parkinson's article. And we believe that this trend exists well beyond Parkinson's and into other neurological disorders, as we're continually challenged by our environment, excess use of cell phones, and other factors, particularly our diets, which are now becoming more and more Monsanto GMO produced, if you will. And these GMOs, unfortunately, tend to chelate or bind necessary minerals and allow them, when the body digests these plant materials, normally they're able to extract and absorb all these nutrients. Well, with the Monsanto GMO, it's turned out that these necessary nutrients many times are not able to be broken down and utilized by the body. So we're deficient nutritionally, and this too is leading towards these neurological disorders. Anyway, I have a link here for a wonderful article describing more on this alarming trend. Arcana Life Sciences is an early stage biotech, biopharmaceutical company that holds 2 license agreements with our National Institutes of Health to commercialize the U.S. government's 507 patent on the therapeutic use of cannabinoids, titled Cannabinoids as Antioxidants and Neuroprotectants. Arcana Life, with these 2 license agreements, the first to develop a cannabinoid-based medication to treat hepatic encephalopathy, a liver-brain disorder, and secondly, to treat CTE and traumatic brain injury. Thus, we feel our national healthcare researchers believe there is a strong place for cannabis-based medicine to effectively treat this unfortunate traumatic brain injury situation. And here we see research from UCLA Medical Center at Torrance, California, which involved 446 young adults who suffered automobile accidents and unfortunately related traumatic brain injury situations. But it was very interesting to note that the regular cannabis users among this group of young adults were 80%, yes, 80% more likely to survive of traumatic brain injury, and this is presumably because their brain cells had that extra layer of neuroprotection that medical cannabis and CBD can potentially provide. And this research was published in the American Surgeon. We have a hot link here for those who might like to look at this. There was a great Reuters article as well that described this fantastic research. So from this, we conclude that all young high school, college football players, potentially even the NFL pros, would do well to be on a course of natural botanical hemp-based CBD therapy. And anyone who's really at risk for a brain injury, it might be a hockey player or lacrosse players or women who are field hockey players or equestrian riders, would do very well to have this extra layer of neuroprotection, or this second football helmet, if you will, that's with you at all times. And certainly, having been a PhD physiotherapist, I've seen many young kids come in who've unfortunately had terrible accidents, and some of them, of course, at that young age, you think you're invincible and you do crazy things and whatever stunts and the rest, but it can truly affect a person for the rest of their lives. And to have that little extra layer of neuroprotection, I think, is something that over time we will conclude that this should be a part of everyone's diet, particularly those people who are potentially at risk for some traumatic brain injury. Recent study and research from the local San Diego Salk Institute shows that cannabinoids reduce beta amyloid plaques in human subjects. And this is interesting because beta amyloid accumulation, as well as inflammation in the brain, are basic characteristics of Alzheimer's disease, and these cannabinoids might be able to provide novel therapeutics to treat this disorder. So Salk professor Dr. David Schubert, who's the senior author of the study, mentions, although other studies have offered evidence that cannabinoids might be neuroprotective against the symptoms of Alzheimer's, he believes that the study that was done is the first to demonstrate that cannabinoids affect both brain inflammation and beta amyloid accumulation in nerve cells. And this is truly groundbreaking research for the industry, because the pharmaceutical community has been trying for years. And according to Bloomberg, it's been 190 times that they've tried to develop a medication that will help reduce or halt the downward progression of Alzheimer's disease. And nonetheless, we might find these cannabinoids to be tremendously beneficial with this. So Alzheimer's disease, of course, is a progressive brain disorder that leads to memory loss and can seriously impair a person's ability to carry out normal daily tasks. It affects about 5.4 million Americans, according to our CDC and the NIH, and is a leading cause of death among senior citizens. It's certainly the most common cause of dementia. Its incidence is expected to triple during the next 30 to 50 years. So by 2050, there may be 15 million or more Americans with this particular condition. And currently, Medicare spends over $200 billion a year on Alzheimer's care. And by the year 2050, Alzheimer's care and treatment will run our national health care system in excess of $1 trillion, according to the projections. And again, I have hot links to these particular studies. So similar to these beta amyloid plaques that accumulate in the brain, a slightly different form of these neurological brain tangles is known as tau protein. And these tau protein plaques in accumulation are characteristic of traumatic brain injury, or what Dr. Benedamalu describes as chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. And of course, CTE has affected many ex-NFL football players, donated brains from deceased ex-NFL players to Boston University, the VA locally there, and Dr. Ann McKee have shown that of 91 brains so far being donated, 87 had strong evidence of these brain plaques characterizing CTE. Again, CBD may be able to provide an answer by reducing inflammation as well as the at least beta amyloid accumulation, and hopefully future research from Dr. Schubert and his group will show that they also reduce the tau protein accumulation. So a Hollywood movie was made about Dr. Amalu and his discovery of CTE. It's called Concussion. Those of you who've seen it know what I'm talking about. Those of you who haven't, it'd be great for you to go watch this. Basically, Dr. Amalu, when he first discovered this CTE, was discredited by the NFL because they didn't believe this, but I believe now that the NFL has recently fired their medical director and is looking for someone new to replace him, and someone who's more with the neurological side of things, because certainly it's been proven now that science and research has shown that this repeated head injury is unfortunately causing these unfortunate conditions that affect not only ex-NFL football players, but also normal people. Sometimes just one good or bad, unfortunately, a car accident can create enough problems neurologically to affect and alter the course of people's lives. So certainly we see people like Dr. Sanjay Gupta doubling down on the fact that these various cannabinoid or cannabis-based products, be it marijuana, non-psychoactive CBD, what have you, are beneficial, and certainly all of us, including the establishment, are rethinking their stance on cannabis. There is a concept of neurogenesis or neuroregeneration within cannabinoids, and particularly in CBD. To describe some of this to you, that previous medical thinking stated that we come into the world and by about age of 3 months we have a maximum number of brain cells that we carry throughout life. And over time these brain cells deteriorate, and this is what's called aging. But our new age medicine, if you will, shows that we actually do produce new brain cells. Dr. Sandrine Thurett has an excellent TED Talks presentation on neurogenesis or neuroregeneration, and we have a hot link to that here for you. But basically, if we have billions of brain cells, every day we generally produce about 700 new brain cells. And though a very small percentage, if we add cannabinoids, and particularly CBD, we think we can exponentially increase that, maybe 7,000, maybe 70,000. And over time, we continue to produce these brain cells, and that's going to keep us healthy, active, mentally sharp, and alert well into our later life. Currently, no medicine exists to effectively cure any neurodegenerative disease, and this is according to the Institute for Neurodegenerative Diseases. In neurology, pharmaceutical medications target an area of the brain called the synapse, where the overall neurological network, only 2% of neurological communication exists at this particular area called the synapse. Nonetheless, 100% of all pharmaceutical intervention targets this little area, the synapse. Thus, we feel, since they're only targeting 2% at max of your overall neurological communication, the failure of pharmaceutical medications to successfully address things such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression, neuropathy. And we feel that natural botanical hemp-based CBD seems to carry properties that potentially target a wider range of neurological activities well beyond the synapse. Dr. Marie Walbridge has a wonderful experience with an Asperger's patient, and she's provided a short documentary called Dancing Neurons. It's available on hot link here, but CBD does seem to be activating the entire neural network well beyond the synapse. So natural botanical CBD is being researched at the UCSD Center for Regenerative Medicine for its stem cell-like effects to regenerate new nerves and new neuronal cells. Going further on this, in recent animal experiments, CBD improved neuroregeneration in the nerve system of adult mice. And THC basically had no effect on neuroregeneration, only CBD affected this particular process. So this is in line with other findings on the what's called pluripotent role of the CB1 receptor. So the CB1 receptor, when it's activated, can basically get the body to produce any type of cell that's needed. This is what's called pluripotent. So this particular stem cell could be a liver cell, it can be a heart cell, it can be a brain cell, an eye cell, a muscle cell. And very interesting that this cannabinoid field of research is looking at the pluripotent role of these various cannabinoids. So CBD has the potential to regenerate nerve and neurons. This would be a tremendous breakthrough in neurological medicine if this could be proven out in human subjects. It'd be tremendous for overall anti-aging medicine as well as overall health and wellness. And we truly feel this is going to rewrite the textbooks on neurological medicine. So we feel that botanical CBD can both increase what's called synaptic density as well as neuronal density within the brain. Again, the importance here is that the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease is a loss of synaptic density. And if we're able to reverse this and rebuild synaptic density in elderly patients, our overall goal would be to reverse up to 20 years of cognitive aging. So the mechanism of action, or how and why this is working, is linked to improved mitochondrial function. I may have earlier mentioned a quick little study which we've already seen from the UK. Cannabidiol targets mitochondria to regulate intracellular calcium levels. And again, well, we mentioned about how calcium can enter and exit the cell membrane due to its electrical abilities, and cannabidiol seems to be accelerating this particular process. And as little as a 1% improvement in mitochondrial function, according to the Life Extension Institute, may actually improve your life expectancy by 10 years. So 1% improvement in mitochondrial function may add 10 years to your life. We're certainly very, very excited about that. And hopefully we can save the U.S. healthcare system many millions of dollars. Cannabinoids and fatty acids also affect genetic expression, and researchers at the University of Indiana have studied certain human genes that affect mood, stress, and longevity. So this actually is technically called the ANK3 and related genes that serve as biomarkers or biological links between mood, stress, and lifespan. And these biomarkers may at some point be targets for personalized medicine. But this analysis has revealed a series of compounds that acts on these ANK3 and related genes to promote longevity, and things such as omega-3 fatty acid and DHA, which are regularly found in hemp and in our products, all are very positive for the downregulation of stress, helping stabilize your mood, and potentially improving your lifespan, as we've already mentioned here. And again, we point to the research. We have a hot link to that. So going further on this concept of how cannabinoids and fatty acids may affect the genetic expression, there's been some great research by Dr. Sean McAllister, California Pacific Medical Center in the San Francisco Bay Area, showing that CBD can act as an inhibitor of aggressive forms of breast cancer. And it seems that this ID1 gene, very technically, which has been unfortunately targeted as the culprit in this aggressive form of cancer, which then leads to metastasis, is something that normally the ID1 gene helps muscle recovery from exercise, but when it's unfortunately switched on to a certain extent, it helps the cancer cells to proliferate. It seems that CBD is actually able to affect the genetic expression, kind of switching off this particular gene and helping to alleviate this metastatic breast cancer. Again, here we have a hot link to this study titled Cannabidiol as a Novel Inhibitor of ID1 Gene Expression in Aggressive Breast Cancer Cells. The study concludes CBD represents the first non-toxic exogenous or external agent that can significantly decrease ID1 gene expression in metastatic breast cancer cells, leading to the downregulation of tumor aggressiveness. Other research has shown that CBD causes programmed cell death in leukemia cells. And this study from Dr. McCallop at University of South Carolina, again, early stage Petri dish models, nonetheless, it shows when you put leukemia cells in the Petri dish, add CBD, basically CBD causes programmed cell death or apoptosis of these harmful cancer cells. How this is working is a little bit different than this gene switching mechanism. Here, CBD seems to stimulate the expression of certain enzymes, very technically the P22-FOX and NOX4 enzymes, but these enzymes carry a hydrogen peroxide cleansing type of effect, and they're able to stimulate the body's immune system to actually recognize these cancerous cells as harmful, and once they're able to red flag them, if you will, the body can then start to clean them up. So it's a very interesting application for CBD in the cancer arena. And we've seen that also these fatty acids do affect genetic expression. Immunoglobulin gamma, which I previously mentioned here, a deficiency of this IgG1 is now considered a new biomarker that shows an 80% accuracy rate in distinguishing autism characteristics in children in healthy children from unfortunate children who have autism. And I've also mentioned that immunoglobulins are a significant part of hemp seed nutrition, and especially this all-important IgG component. Again, it's a protein that affects the body's immune system in a very positive manner. And it seems that if the parent or the mother is IgG1 deficient, likely that will be translated forward to the child, and unfortunately will have a much higher potential to develop autism. And it seems that if we can get people, and particularly mothers, on a very healthy diet of essential fatty acids and cannabinoids and hemp-based CBD, the ability for this trait to be passed along to children will be significantly decreased. So that's where some of this new research is looking. And another study, NIH study titled Synaptic Formation and Cognitive Brain Development, showing the effect of DHA. DHA is being widely used in children to diminish negative developmental and cognitive effects from premature birth. DHA and cannabinoids are actually found in mothers' breast milk, and certainly DNA in animal models also increase brain activity of all pre- or post-synaptic proteins, and this action is theorized to involve increasing gene expression for these particular proteins. So given the fact that Alzheimer's is characterized by a decrease in synaptic density within the brain, by adding DHA and cannabinoid-rich hemp oil to one's dietary intake may make significant inroads towards this accepted therapy for this unfortunate detrimental condition.